Hello, agus Fisca Maggie Bacharson. Hello and welcome to another episode of Meet the Sponsors. Now, this is a series of programmes that are being broadcast in the run-up to the ALBA Scots Trad Music Awards. My name is Jordan Lopp, as I was saying, and I'll be here talking to representatives from the organisations who very, very generously sponsor the awards every year. So as we know, the COVID-19 pandemic has changed things ever so slightly this year, with many events, performances all going online. And the one advantage of that is it gives us a chance in more detail to talk to representatives from these organisations that are just so supportive every single year for our Scots Trad Music Awards. So today I'm very lucky to be joined by Stuart Fleming for PRS for Scotland and also Dr. Joshua Dixon from the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland. So welcome, Falchirov Harston. I hope you are both well, and I can see you over there thanks to the wonders of modern technology. Now, Stuart, I'm going to come to you first just to have a wee chat. I think most musicians will recognise the name PRS, but guaranteed there's some people out there who maybe aren't very sure what exactly PRS is. Can you tell us a wee bit more about the work of the organisation?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, you know, the music industry, I think people think the music industry is all the performance and the glamorous side, and yeah, as we both know, it is that, but to be perfectly honest, our industry is based on rights. Our industry is based on your intellectual property rights, and PRS works with the songwriters and composers who create that music. Essentially, our role really is as a go-between between the people who use music and the people who create the music. We issue licenses to those bodies who use our members' music, and then pay that in terms of royalties to the songwriters and composers and publishers who own and write the music. So yeah, it's quite a complex operation. We've got over 150,000 songwriters, composers and publishers that are directly working with each year. There's around 10,000 in Scotland. I also work in Northern Ireland. I've got a couple of thousand over there as well. So yeah, it's a fairly complex operation, but it's all about making sure that the people who write music are actually paid properly for the music being used.
And I think we're very thankful for the PRS failure that comes and gives us free money every quarter. But that is thanks to the work that you do collecting all that information and making sure that musicians are reimbursed for all their hard work, live performances and also recorded ones.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think the data is just, sort of post streaming, if you like, since streaming's come online, the data is just incredible. I mean, I think we're looking at something in excess of 19 trillion performances in music a year that we monitor, that we actually then, reimburse musicians through royalties for that use of music, and that could be anything from a live session in the back room of a folk club, through to a major concert or a tour, or streaming on online services such as Deezer and Spotify. So yeah, it's a really complex business, and as I say, each year just the volume of data that we're handling increases, the number of songs and music that we represent and that we actually work with, just increases, year on year by just huge amounts. I think in the last year we've been seeing roughly 1,000 songwriters and composers each month joining up for the service. So yeah, it's a fairly full on side of the industry.
Yes, and as artists are probably some of the hardest hit by the COVID pandemic, not being able to do live performances in particular. Yeah. How has that, I guess, informed your work? How have things changed in the last few months because of this?
I mean, I think clearly it's been the most difficult year, for almost every songwriter that I work with, for almost every musician that I know. Not only financially, because I mean, financially, they're just earning nothing, or they have earned very little for the last 9 months, and who knows how long that's going to go on for. But I do think that, as well as the financial side, it's the emotional side, because I mean, musicians, creators of music, enjoy you yourself. I mean, we've had some nights, where the sessions have gone well into the morning. So, the music sessions that are created, that's just stopped. People can't get together. Musicians, creators of music, creators of all art forms are, by their nature, very emotional people and very sociable people in a lot of cases. And the fact that that's all stopped meant that, there's a massive negative impact on their mental health in many cases. On my side of the business, what we've actually seen in many ways, and I think this is a silver lining, if you like, is because people have got more time on their hands, they're actually spending time addressing the issues of where they can actually maximise income. So they're looking at the metadata, things that were just boring, things that weren't sexy before, like looking at the metadata, making sure that all the works registrations were correct, making sure all the tune codes were correct. I mean, things that just bands would never do in the past. We've now seen just huge numbers of people actually looking into that. And I think that's the encouraging side, that songwriters and composers and their representatives are taking far more interest in, actually, we really need to make sure we're, dotting all the I's, crossing the T's, getting all the income in that we're due. So on that side, that's where we've seen a massive increase. Aside from that, we've actually had our own, COVID emergency relief fund, and we've given out over £2 million in grants to songwriters and composers who've fallen hard times. That's actually part of the ongoing PRS members fund. So it's not purely because of COVID. I mean, there has been additional funding this year just to try and help people out, but we do have our ongoing members fund to try and help musicians and songwriters who've fallen hard times.
It's so important. I mean, is hugely important for musicians, but I think particularly now, even just knowing that there is an organisation out there that's helping and taking positive steps is really encouraging. So we've got a light at the end of the tunnel. Now, I know that PRS have been very, very faithful supporters of the Trads. This is the 12th year that you have been supporting an award, and this year it's for an original work, which is a wee bit different. Can you tell us a wee bit more about I guess, that relationship between PRS and the Trad Awards?
Yeah, we started back in 2009, back in Dumfries, I think, was the first year. And it was a no-brainer to an extent for our point of view. We represent songwriters and composers of all genres, and that's actually part of the joy of working in this role. Is that I've worked in labels in the past, and I've worked for publishers, and you tend to work with one genre. I've worked for majors, working with mainly rock and pop artists, and I've worked at other independent labels. I've run my own label. But at PRS for Music, we're actually working with all genres, all creators of all music. So to an extent, just to recognise the huge talent, but also I think the contribution towards the community that traditional music plays in Scotland. It was just, it was an absolute no-brainer, and it's been a joy. And in actual fact, I think any of us that have been to the Trads over the years, I mean, it's one of the highlights of the calendar. I mean, the end of the year, come up to the end of the year every year, and we get a chance to get together. And I'm only gutted that, obviously this year it was meant to be in my adopted city of Dundee, so I'm gutted that we're having to move to virtual. But I'm sure hopefully Simon will work hard with the MG ALBA team as well, and it'll be back on track next year. Let's hope we're all back together then.
Yeah, there definitely is no plastic word party. And I think I've really noticed that this year, the kind of it's the lack of community. It's not being able to see your friends, because most of the people we work with, they are our friends as well as our colleagues, and you do see the music, and music and life really coming hand to hand, and trying to still be inspired and create and just kind of get through it is tough at times. So I'm sure on behalf of all musicians, like I say, thank you very much for everything that you've been doing.
You for keeping creating the music. I mean, at the end of the day, we're only there because people create music. I think that's the other thing that the public aren't aware of. That there's a huge ecosystem in the music industry. It's a multi-billion-pound industry, and in many other industries, a lot of the work that songwriters and composers do would receive research and development grants up front. Musicians just don't get it. Songwriters just don't have the benefit of that. We're not treated like that by, governments, if you like, worldwide. And not criticising it. Governments have had a struggle this year. I'm not struggling criticising anything in particular. Just I think songwriters and composers have done a lot of work which would be considered research and development in any other industry for free. That's their social time. It's seen as socialising, and it is fun, but it's still work. You're working till 1, 2 in the morning. And then you've got to go back up again the next morning and do more work. And I think very often the public don't realise the sort of massive ecosystem behind those people who create music, and the value they add, not just financial value, but the emotional value and the support they add to all of our lives. I mean, what would a film be without music? What would socialising be without music? Music's so integral to what everybody does, and I think we're all missing it this year so badly.
Definitely, and inspired and finding ways through lockdown to really work for that inspiration has been tricky. But I've been asking all our guests to choose one piece that has been an inspiration for them, and I know that you've chosen a piece by the fantastic musician Myrick Green. Can you tell us why you chose to pick "Carry Me Home"?
How long have we got? Okay, so to put things in perspective, Myrick actually was the first ever winner of the PRS Composer of the Year at the Trad. So that's coincidental, but it was quite nice in a way that Myrick came up with this track this year. Only a few days into the official lockdown, we had a conversation, and Myrick was explaining to me that she was composing work for a new project, which was going to be essentially vinyl releases with artwork and stories inspired by the women of the area that she grew up in the far northwest of Scotland. And it really intrigued me. But she played me some of the tracks, and "Carry Me There," it stuck out as a piece of music at the time. But what I don't think, unless Myrick knows something that the rest of us didn't, just how this year's played out, and excuse me, I'm just going to have to read because I don't want to get any of her lyrics wrong. But, there's a lonely girl singing this tune shared across the Baltic. I can hear you over the ocean, I can hear you. Carry me there, carry me there. Tied by the soil beneath her feet, and tied by a language that no one can read. It's a message in a bottle, I'll raise a glass to you. Just a lonely girl drinking theirs too. I can hear you, carry me there. For me, so many people have not been able to see family or loved ones this year for so many months, for so long. And I think there was something as well, it was almost like a call and return. Myra's voice in the box, it was just like, she sang the melody and it was really fragile, and the box kind of repeated that. It was almost like an echo of humanity and the hope that we all have that we're going to get through this together and see our loved ones and see our families again. Just the track blew me away before everything that's happened this year, but now it just feels so poignant. It just feels so perfect for the hope that we all kind of carry beyond 2020.
Oh, that's really beautiful introduction to a gorgeous piece of music that we'll get to hear now. So this is "Carry Me There" by Myrick Green. lovely music there from Myrit, and he is producing these glorious vinyl copies that have artwork involved as well. And coming up to Christmas, if anybody's looking for a present, it would be definitely worth having a good browse around her website. And if anybody would like to find out more about PRS, you just need to look on their website, prsformusic.com. Lots of information in there. And thank you very much, Stuart, for coming to chat to us about all of that.
Thank you. Cheers.
Nisha, I'm going to move on to, I guess, less of the mechanical rights side of things and the performance side. We have Dr. Joshua Dixon here from the RCS, the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland. Thank you for taking the time to come and talk to us. I can see there from your background that you're a very busy man who, despite the lockdown, is going with all his studies.
Oh, good afternoon. Thanks very much, Joy. No, this is my secret weapon, making people make it look as if I'm busy. You say I'm working hard. This is my weapon of choice. So, nah, it's all for show.
I mean, I feel myself a wee bit bare in comparison. I'm going to have to start stacking them. Now, obviously, many people will know about the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, but you're head of the traditional music course there. Can you give us a wee bit more background about that?
Sure, yeah, I've been the head of the department in traditional music at RCS for, well, since before it was RCS, back when it was the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama, which ended up being so much of a mouthful that they had to make it a bit more punchy. This is when they were adding programs and pathways left, right, and center. So it's a much bigger and more kind of hive-like, but also more creative, more in touch institution. Increasingly every year, it just gets more and more. And so traditional music is a bit like that in RCS. So I've been around since 2008, well, 2006 actually, but in 2008 I became head of department. So we've had a Bachelor of Music with honours in traditional music since 2015, but prior to that we had a Bachelor of Arts in Scottish music since, well, 1996. And then it became an honours degree in 1999 or 2000. A specific piping pathway was added in 2001. And that's been a really successful partnership with the National Piping Centre, of course. And we've gone from strength to strength since then. We did revamp our curriculum pretty much head to toe in 2014, 2015. Hence, it's a Bachelor of Music now rather than Bachelor of Arts. It's a BMUS. But we also have our master's programs in traditional music. A Master of Arts in Music and a Master of Music in Traditional Music, so MA and MMOS. And so I've been fortunate enough to be along for that journey and to help kind of facilitate all the talent that comes within our department, both staff and students, all the emerging talent and all the great names that come and really are generous with their time and their knowledge and understanding to help nurture the generation to come.
I mean, the RCS is famed for churning out phenomenal musicians. I mean, you think you can't get better, and then it just feels like the talent is increasing and is increasing. But obviously this year, things are very, very different, particularly for courses that normally would be in-person, collaborative music courses. How have you dealt with the lockdown, particularly here in Glasgow, we're currently Tier 4? How has that affected, I guess, that side of your course?
Yeah, it has been difficult. It's been a challenge, no question at all. And it's been a challenge for all the higher education sector across the UK, across Scotland, and music very much to the fore. So we've been, to some extent, fortunate, I like to say, in the Royal Conservatoire in the sense that we've managed to do a somewhat blended program throughout the pandemic that involves both in-person learning and teaching and online. So it's been a bit of a hybrid, and not all institutions can say that. Some have been just completely online. And so we've managed to some extent, at least, have a bit more of a blended system. And that means that our students are getting at least some core of their one-to-one lessons, for instance. The really meat and bones anchor throughout their studies is that one-to-one relationship with the tutor. A lot of that is still one-to-one live and in person, although that gets supplemented with online lessons as well. And there are certain performance classes, technique classes. There are other aspects that are in person, but again, not too much on that side. A lot of that is online, based on both tutor preferences as well as the logistics. But we have managed to allow all our students who are involved in folk ensemble activities, and that's generally all of them, to actually meet themselves without tutors present at various times through the week, every week, having a set time in which they can get together face to face in person and make music together as an essential supplement to their any direct teaching they're getting in their ensemble activities from the likes of the tutors like Jen Butterworth, John Somerville, Mark Duff, and others. So we've been fairly fortunate in that we've managed to be able to allow students to have an in-person experience, both one-to-one with the tutors and with each other as collaborators and peers and fellow artists and musicians, as well as supplementing that with an online presence in terms of lectures, academic content, and really trying to keep everyone in touch with each other through Teams or through Zoom, anything at all, in order to maintain that enormously important sense of community.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, full praise to yourself and the staff for managing to do that, because turning an in-person course online and trying to make it work that it's a benefit for your students is really hard. And I'm just blown away by, I guess, how innovative staff have been, and the extra work that they put in to really ensure that students, many of whom are away from home, they're living a very different life as well. That the work that you've done is just phenomenal, turning all that around.
Well, thanks very much. And there's an enormous amount of goodwill, because everyone's at the back of the head. They're always thinking, well, this is just temporary. This will get back relatively to normal at some point soon. And of course it will. But in the meantime, we do have to innovate, as you say, in order to create or maintain a quality learning experience for the students, and the experience for the staff as well, because everyone, like Stuart was saying, everyone is there's the risk of feeling disassociated, the risk of feeling distant, and there is something about our community writ large, whether it's within Glasgow or across the world, that that grounds us, unifies us, and we need to maintain that in some way. So we've had to be quite innovative, or at least try to be, in order to try and make sure that everyone's feeling in touch with each other, and able to get the most out of this particular point in time. So yeah, innovation in that sense is the mother of, or what is it? The mother of necessity. We've had to innovate just to be able to do what we do. So thankfully, it's been working out pretty well. So we do try.
And it's been wonderful actually seeing things like your RCS Presents or the RCS at Home series that were available online, and they just felt like wee glimmers of hope in all the darkness when you saw that actually it was possible to see music, it was possible to engage in that. And I think it was really such a huge step when you saw organisations and particularly educational institutions turning around and producing the phenomenal music they would do anyway, but actually making it available to us at home watching.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been really proud of RCS Presents and RCS at Home. There's, again, all the staff involved, from artistic planning to colleagues of mine like Jen Butterworth, who've been involved in working with the students directly to help support and contribute music from our department to it. They've all worked phenomenally well. And of course the students themselves, to work within these boundaries and somewhat limitations, in order to not just work with each other, but also to actually bring music to the world around us and say, we're still here, and we're still trying to make magic every day. So RCS Presents and RCS at Home are these channels, or these series that are put out pretty regularly by RCS now, via its website and its social media. And there's still that's predicated on certain intense periods of rehearsal and recording activity, certainly within our department, using proper venues like the major performance halls in the Royal Conservatoire, and maintaining social distance. If you watch some of these broadcasts in RCS Presents, the kind of broadcasts that we've contributed from our department, the students they're all in the hall, they're playing, they're working together, they're making music, but they are of course socially distanced. But we've shown that it is possible to do that with pipes, woodwinds, singing. You know, they're you can manage things in such a way that that it can work. And so there've been at least maybe 2 or 3 important junctures through this term, leading up to the Christmas period, where we've been able to send out these broadcasts, and they've really shown the students in an amazing light.
Yeah, it's such a lift, I think, for both a performer to actually think, you know, I can still do this. Yes, it's not the same as it was, but, you know, it's possible. And also for us watching at home, definitely, I've been loving watching all the different online outputs, because it's like, oh, we still have music. It's still here.
Exactly, and the relief, actually, the enjoyment that students get out of that, and of course our staff as well, is palpable. You know, they think, oh, thank goodness, you know, we're actually here in the building again. We're working with each other face to face. We're interacting, and of course, there's much to be said about the skill sets that we can all develop in a pandemic period like this, where we have to work with videos and develop the editing skills in order to work in this kind of digital environment. There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone can emerge a bit the better, I think, with that regard for their professional skills. But at the same time, it's such a relief to be back in the room together, actually interacting. It's all about communicating with each other and sharing what we love. And that comes across in the broadcasts that we've been able to do. So yeah.
It's so important. And I was saying to Stuart earlier, I have been asking everybody to pick a track that has been an inspiration in lockdown. And I know you've picked a particularly rousing one from the fabulous Canaris Quintet.
That's right. Yeah. Just thinking about you know, a track, I got to thinking that this predates the pandemic a wee bit, but you know, one of the albums that I've turned to quite a lot this whole past year, a bit more, is Canaris Quintet's album Free One, and indeed that last track has been it's been great, because as soon as you get, I mean, I'm a sucker for vocals, you know, vocal harmonies and backgrounds and so on, you know, as it is. And the you know, once you get to about, what is it, 5.5 minutes in, things start to soar. I mean, the whole album soars. It's such, I mean, Canaris Quintet, as you know, is just full of, you know, they're comprised of these supremely talented musicians who enrich the community every day with what they do. But looking into that, you know, once you get to that kind of last minute and a half of the whole album, you know, I get transported, and it's as if, you know, with the harmony, the vocal support that comes into it, and the instrumentation, suddenly I'm seeing the mountain behind us in this pandemic, and the horizon in front of us, the horizon ahead, because it's just kind of opens up. It really sums up the whole album. It sums up a whole, you know, the experience that we've all had this whole year so far. What a year it's been. And you know, and looking, you know, that kind of that moment of music in the last wee moment of Free One is a real sort of musical metaphor for seeing the horizon ahead of us.
And what better to play out is a performance that they recorded as part of lockdown. So I'll tip of my hat to them to manage to recreate that. So Shark of my hat, here is the Canaris Quintet with Free One. that's beautiful. Traditional music is definitely good for the soul. I know I'm biased, but I 100% stand behind that. And if anybody is interested in finding out a wee bit more about the work that RCS do, please do visit their website, rcs.ac.uk. So thank you very much to Dr. Joshua Dixon and also Stuart Fleming from PRS for coming and having a wee chat with me today. We will be back next week talking to more sponsors of our Trad Awards. But do remember that Nitrads 220 will be broadcast on BBC ALBA on Saturday, the 20th of December, where you'll find out all about the newest winners of the awards. So do make sure that you're watching. Thank you all very much for watching today. Hope you enjoyed it, and you'll be back with us for more music and definitely a lot of chat next week. So, much live and drasta. Cheery for now.